Yeah.
We are live.
We are live. Hey everybody, I am Tarl Yarber with Fixated Real Estate, and I'm just chilling in my big ass machine here, my excavator. Like, I don't know this thing. And we're here on one of our properties in Lakewood, Washington. And we're going to spend this Facebook Live and YouTube Live and BP Live event going over raw land development and joint ventures. While we're here, it's not going to be the prettiest thing because it's just raw land, right? Other episodes that we'll do, we'll be walking houses, we'll be walking new builds, we'll be walking so much stuff every Wednesday at noon Pacific Standard Time with BiggerPockets. This is our third time doing it. If you didn't watch the other ones, you can go back. We were just in Maui with Brandon Turner last week. And check out the one we did there. Brandon and I went over lots of questions and answer stuff on real estate, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Just so keep watching this. Stay tuned for next week too. Make sure you like this video. Ask questions. This is going to be a big Q&A version of the live for raw development, land, horizontal, ground up, everything. So that said, get out of this freaking thing. So we're here with my buddy Freddie Brewster here. Him and I own this property, and you guys can take a look around. Look at this gorgeous 20 lot development that's going on here. This is 3.6 acres. It even has a house on it that's been sitting here for a while. The house looks absolutely beautiful in every single way. And the point of this on that house, like one of the things we talked about, actually, let's talk about the house for a second. So this house, we've owned this for 18 months, right? So Freddie and I have been working on this project for 18 months now. It is a long-term project, so whenever you get in raw development, it is not a short-term, like just throw it up there and figure it out. A lot of times you have to do, especially when you're dealing with raw land, 3.6 acres that have never been subdivided, you have to go through a lot of processes, and we're going to get into those processes later in this video. But I wanted to mention the house really quick because I've owned this project with Freddie for 18 months. I didn't even realize there was a house on it this whole time. So this is actually my first time
here, yeah.
Ever being here. Like, and how many times have you been here?
I've been here like 5 times, and I live 3 minutes away.
Yeah, he lives 3 minutes away. I live 45 minutes away, but I've never been here. So imagine that. You own a property for 18 months, and you've never even seen it. So that's a good time, right? And we're going to go over the numbers, and you're going to realize why it's a really good time. So that house there, we've owned it for 18 months. We could have rented that out, right, for all we know. So that's one mistake, but I doubt it, though.
Did you rent that?
Yeah. Well, okay. There's probably already squatters in it already.
There's a price point for everything.
Yeah, there's a price point. Like Freddie told me that we probably were renting it out this whole time because it's a torn up property. Yeah. There's probably people living in it right now for all we know. So don't forget, when we get into this raw land development stuff, just ask questions. We're going to go into it as much as possible. Freddie's going to be monitoring YouTube. Nate, who's holding the camera, is going to be monitoring Facebook. So Facebook is probably where we're going to be able to focus most of our attention on for questions on this video and so forth. But let's talk development for a second. And I'm going to throw some numbers out there before we get into some of these details. Freddie, how much did we buy this project for?
I think it was $480, $485.
I think it was $490.
$490, right around there.
Why am I asking this guy? All right, so it's been a year and a half. So we bought it for $490,000, and we have about $120,000 into it.
In soft costs.
In soft costs, right. And we're going to explain soft costs in a moment. So we put $120,000 into basically just getting this to become what's called a paper lot, right? Which we'll discuss paper lots in a moment. And with that said, so if we had it as a paper lot, we bought it for $490,000. We have $120,000 into it. A paper lot is where it becomes
it's technically entitled. So we've entitled the property because we still don't have 20 lots.
Yes.
So if we wanted to sell it now, we could sell it fully entitled with preliminary approval as well as all engineering done, and somebody else could come and finish the 20 lots.
Correct.
But they're going to buy one lot still.
Yes. So what that actually means, most of us think once you actually have a plot, a subplot, where it shows 20 lots in it, right? And right now, this is sellable as a 20 lot. However, it's sold as one lot that can be 20 lots, right? So it's been approved. Yes, you are totally allowed to subdivide this into 20 lots. That is a paper lot at that situation, which means you can send the whole package to one builder or one developer who will then have to do what these Kubotas are here for, which is to start trenching all the sewer, the grading, the engineering, all the electrical, the lights, the pavement, all that to make them what's called
finished plat.
Finished plat, right? Finished lots. Yep. At that point, you can then sell each lot individually.
Yep.
One person, one builder, one homeowner, whatever, right? So you got to ask yourself when you guys are doing raw land development, if you ever get into that, is how far do you take raw land, and do you go all the way to the end, which is put houses on it or buildings,
Right.
or do you stop? You have basically two other stopping points. You have 3 stopping points total from what I know of: paper lots, fully finished lots, or you build the houses yourself. Right?
Yeah, and there's maybe one in between there, because
Okay.
you could sell it at preliminary approval for a
Yep.
lower amount. And then what we did is we took it one step further to engineering approval, where we've got all the designs done and in place. So you've got your sewer systems, water systems, all the curb gutter sidewalks, infiltration, all that stuff is designed and approved, almost permit ready, which is where we're at now. So that's
Yeah.
why we're allowed to have this equipment here. So we could sell it at this point, or then you could take it to finished plat, and then if you want to take it further, you can build some houses.
Correct.
But we're not builders.
We're not builders, right? So I guess the message there too is know yourself, know how far you're capable of bringing a deal all the way along. So when you originally brought this deal, so Freddie sourced this deal, and when you originally sourced it, your original plan was never to go all the way to this level, like your
No.
very original plan.
No.
Right? It was just a wholesaler, right?
Correct.
So can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, originally, this was probably one of the last larger lots in the city of Lakewood, Washington. It's an old farmhouse, as you can see, land everywhere. And it's been in the family, I think, for 80 plus years. And, there was 6 heirs. They just wanted to be done with it. It sat on the market for a long time. We tied it up. And at the time, we were just going to get kind of conceptual design and try to wholesale it. And, through that process, we did all that, except for we didn't do the wholesale part.
Yeah.
And so we were getting closer. We did an extension on the contract. We were starting to take it through some of the paperwork phases. And, as closing got closer, I was like, I don't think we're going to be able to pull this off as a wholesale. So I called Tarl, who then was like, hey, let's joint venture on this thing and take it through the paperwork process. So we did that. And at the time, we thought we'd sell it at preliminary approval.
Yep.
And so we were talking to builders and whatnot. And, kind of we're playing around with some offers here and there. And every time, we kept getting lowballed.
Low ball offers.
Lowball offers, that's fine. And, we know what these are worth.
And,
So
to recap, preliminary approval was just you have a
yes, you can.
yes, you can
Right.
turn this into a 20 lot development, but you still got to get engineering, which then says, okay, now you have permits to be able to dig in the dirt and make them finished lots.
Right.
So there's different phases there. So we got it to preliminary.
So we got to preliminary, and we weren't happy with the offers we were getting. So
Yep.
we're okay. Well, how much is it going to cost us to take this further? So we spent the money on the engineering, which is why we're at the 120 now
Yep.
in soft costs, and we took it to there, and then kind of the same thing.
Same thing.
we're gonna sell it there, and the market's it's consistently gone up, and so again we know what these lots are worth, and what we found at that point is that this plat is 20 lots.
Yes.
Right. National builders don't want 20 lots.
Yes.
They want 40 plus.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're looking probably for a local builder who can, do something with it. However, one thing we didn't necessarily know, they can't get financing on
Yeah.
dirt.
So, and then what does that mean? What does that actually mean? So, to summarize that, we brought it all the way to engineering, which means we have approved stamped plans for somebody to be able to dig in the dirt at any time and start clearing the lots. There used to be a lot more trees here. We only just started clearing the dirt a couple days ago. And in a few weeks, we'll have trenches here and sewers going in and all that stuff like that. That's what we mean by we have approved stamp plans to start doing all of this work. We originally didn't want to do any of this work at all. We originally were going to sell it to a builder who could do all of that. We found out, though, 20 lots, because this is, we're not developers. Don't forget, I'm a single-family house flipper and burr investor, right? And this guy was wholesaling, he was doing some smaller developments and so forth, but he wasn't doing these massive ones. So this is a big project for us. And there's other people that might be watching this that are like our buddy Jay Heinrichs out of Portland. He's a big contributor in Portland. On BiggerPockets, that guy, he's doing 90, 100, 200 lot subdivisions throughout the United States, and actually he's helped us out with some advice on that. So if you have need any advice, go hit up Jay on BiggerPockets. But that said, we didn't realize that 20 lots was not big enough for most national builders, and 20 lots was too big for most local builders. It was right at that spot. Then we find out why we're getting these lowball offers from some of these builders, which we'll go over those numbers in a moment, was because they can't get financing on dirt.
So they're
right?
raising private capital.
So they're raising private capital, which means it's going to cost, or they have to come out of pocket. for us to just dig in the dirt and put these 20 lots in here in Lakewood, Washington, is costing us a little over $800,000 just to be able to put the infrastructure in here. So imagine you're a small builder and you have to come out with 800 grand cash in order just to be able to get finished lots so that you can then get construction financing. And that's a hard pill for some builders to swallow. So for us, luckily we have the funding, we have private capital, we were able to do that ourselves. So we only just made the decision a few weeks ago to actually start digging in the dirt, and here we are finishing the lots out, which was never our plan to begin with.
Right. But unfortunately, we're at the fast part too. We're
at the fast part. So we'll get some time in too, and we're going to make a lot more money on this because we decided to finish the lots. And some of you guys might be thinking, why don't you also just build the houses? Well, it goes back to the other thing. We're not builders, right? So maybe we will build a couple of them. We don't know, right? So any questions? So if you guys have questions, make sure you guys hit us up on either the Facebook Live, YouTube Live. While we're doing that, let's go ahead and walk this project a little bit, and let's go to our whiteboard as well. And so we also did have some problems on developing this lot. One of the problems that we had to do with the engineering company. So that's a huge tip that you guys can follow right there. If you guys decide to ever develop raw land, probably the most important team member that you need is, besides your capital, is your engineer. Whoever your engineering company is for this type of stuff is crucially important. And we had an engineering company initially that didn't do so good of a job.
Sure.
Can you explain the story a bit?
Yeah, without getting into too many details, but basically, you know, we were seeking plat design work, and it went sideways. We paid them way too much money. They didn't meet any time frames, and ultimately we started over from scratch.
So we spent almost $20,000 on this engineering company to basically just draw a piece of paper for us with lots, and we got that within the first week of working with them.
Right.
And it just sat on their desk. They kept doing draws. They kept doing stuff. We kept working with them. They kept never delivering anything. And it got to a point to where, like, we just had to cancel this stuff completely. And we even went so far as we were going to go to court and try to get the actual CADs from them, figure out, we threatened lawsuits. At the end of the day, we didn't have a horse to sit on or whatever, race on or whatever the hell the term is, or anything like that. But so we had to bite the bullet and excuse me, we had to bite the bullet and write off the loss, move completely to another engineering company completely. It was way more professional, got stuff done, condensed the timelines for us in half the time. Yeah. And that is so important. So that was a big lesson that we had.
Time is money in this game.
Absolutely. And if you're racing the market, so we're July 24th right now, and here in the Pacific Northwest, the best time to sell, just like anywhere else, is in the summer, right? But for raw land, it's a little bit different. For raw land, the best time to dig in the dirt is in the summer, right? Because you have so much rain in our area that if they're digging, they have to shore up walls, mud's coming in everywhere. If you have really bad dirt, it can get really, really messy, and it's not a fun experience. It's going to be very challenging for you to get some sort of company, an excavation company, to come out here and do that. So now's the perfect time that we had to pull the trigger to go, are we going to develop this or not? Because we have a window of time, and that's something you should consider in your area. What's your window of opportunity for raw land development? For ours, we had to do it now, or just take a low offer from a builder. We still make a bunch of money, but we felt like we were getting ripped off a little bit, so we needed to do that. Yeah. But here's what happens then, is you would think that selling finished lots in the winter would be a horrible idea.
Except for you're going to help your builders now hit market in spring and summer because they can build during that time frame. And so if we get this done like we're anticipating, whoever buys these lots from us will have a perfect opportunity to hit next year's market at the right time.
Correct. That allows them then in November to start pouring foundations, they can start building, and they can get in the Pacific Northwest. That's totally fine. Builders love to build in the winter because then their houses are finished by April into early summer, and they're at peak time to sell for their properties, and that's the best time. So we hit this right to do it. But it was luckily, because it was definitely not because we're geniuses or anything. So let's continue to walk to our whiteboard here, and we can do some numbers for you guys. And then we hear, is that a raccoon?
There's definitely somebody in the house.
Yeah, somebody's living there.
Welcome to the ranch.
Yeah. Anybody there?
I think it's over in the neighbor's stuff.
No, it came from inside the house.
I went in there. Nobody's in there.
You went in the house?
I went in there.
Did you go in the house? Because I came from the house.
Oh, did it? No, I think you came behind the house. Anyways, you never know, guys. If you all of a sudden see us talking to somebody.
Yeah.
All right, so let's run some numbers. Can you see all this?
Yes.
Cool. So we bought it for $490, right? We put $120,000 of soft costs. Now, what is soft costs?
Soft cost it's all paperwork. So you're paying your engineer to design all the infrastructure. It's just a bunch of people sitting behind desks, which are very important and critical to your project.
Correct. So you're not getting any actual like physical stuff done.
Correct.
So,
right.
Now, $610,000 is what we then have into the project. Now, if you think about that per lot, right? We have 20 lots. Mm-hmm. So if you divide that by 20, how much are we in it per lot?
30,500.
So that makes us 30,500 per lot. So if you're doing your math right, this is a very easy thing with lots. Is you go, okay, our cost per lot is 30,500 now, right? So what can we sell it for? At this point, we had an offer for 55 a lot, right? So we had an offer for 55 a lot and that's at paper.
Right.
So that's a paper lot that they offered us. So the spread then would be $24,500 per lot times 20 lots. 24,500 times 20 lots. 490. So that means that we would profit roughly $490 per lot. But then there's selling costs. We have excise tax in Washington, right? If we had a realtor, blah blah blah. So in reality, that's more like $420
And that took a year and a half.
And that takes 18 months. So 18 months in, net profit, is probably around $450-ish after all costs and so forth. That's a pretty good deal, right? For a year and a half. Okay. We didn't want to take a $55,000 per lot offer because we originally thought these things would be worth like 80 or 90 when they were finished up. So we're like, okay, well that's going to be better, right? So maybe we're getting screwed around. Then we discovered, oh wait, we're getting screwed around because paper lots are only worth about 55 to 60 here, because of the fact that you can't get financing. There's a lot of work that goes into that stuff. So what else can we do?
Yeah. And the true buyers actually have a bit of leverage on that,
yes,
because they know that if they have the cash, they can kind of lowball to get a better deal.
Correct. And so now we had to finish the lots. So in order to finish lots, we're roughly with costs, some stuff with the cities, blah 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 blah. Simple math, like without the city stuff, we're at $800K roughly for doing all the dirt work, right? So that is that's $40K per lot, right? So now we're at $40,000 in cost per lot, plus the $30,500 for the acquisitions and soft costs. So we're at $70,500 per lot in costs finishing this. Then we have some other things we got to pay. You have some engineers to be able to pay, again, some more soft costs for getting a fully approved plan set. You also have
got $127,000 just in water meters. And connecting 2 points from the water company.
So we get so let's call it another $150,000, right? Or roughly, right? Or
probably 200. Honestly.
We're closer to another $200,000 in fees, and the city connections, services, and engineers, and da 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 da. So we're at another $200,000, which is another, what is that?
10 grand a lot.
10 grand a lot. So yeah. So that's another $10K per lot. So you add the two together, we're at $80,500 in costs per lot, right? Everybody following so far? Cool. That is a big difference between going from a $30,000 cost per lot. We just added another $50,000 in cost per lot to finish this.
Yep.
If we can't sell these lots for more than that, we're idiots, right? And there is a whole situation here where we had to go, okay, what the spread here, we go from 25 a lot to what is these lots worth? And based on the offers we're having right now, before they're finished, we're getting roughly $130,000 per lot if they're finished lots, right? And that's if we sold them all. And that's if we sold them all to one builder. If we decided to piece them out to 2 or 3 lots at a time to smaller builders, we might be able to get as much as $140,000 per lot in this market right now, because lots in our area are a premium. So the ease would be to find one builder and sell it $130,000, or we could piece it out to $140,000. And there's comes issues with selling it to small builders at 140. You might just do the math and go like, cool, that's an extra 10 grand per lot. But it creates some challenges because if you have a neighborhood here where each builder is building a completely different house next to each other,
Could affect comps.
it affects comps, but then pisses off the builders and so forth on a lot of levels. So you have to do HOAs, you have to put some stuff in place to make sure that builders can only build a certain style of home so that it actually appreciates, so it helps all the other builders that are building in that neighborhood. Right? So if we kept it at 130, right, that means that the spread is what, 50,500, right?
Yep.
So now we have a spread of 50,500, right, if we sell to one builder. So we went from, in this case, we went from 25,000 and we basically doubled our profit at that point, right?
But had to spend $1 million to do it.
But had to spend $1 million to do it.
Right.
And that's the big key.
Yeah.
Did we want to risk $1 million, right, to increase our profit by another 25K per lot, right? And that basically doubles our profit. So the initial math, because we thought maybe the lot's only worth 120, 125, then it wouldn't be worth it. We might have only increased our net for each lot by maybe another, we might have netted another 150 grand. So some of you guys might think, oh cool, another 150,000 in profit, but would you risk $1 million to get another $150,000 in profit when you're not guaranteed it?
Sure.
Right? So that's the big question you got to ask yourself.
So that answer for us was time frame.
Time frame.
You know, so it was, do we have a dirt contractor that can execute quickly, get on the job? We hired this guy, what,
Really
2
fast.
weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
And he's here today.
He's here.
Right? That's unusual in this industry. And we have a fixed price contract with a deadline of 90 days. And that's also very unusual because anyone we talked to other than this guy was 4, 5, 6 months.
To finish.
Now
all of a sudden you're 4, 5, 6 months extra. You're now past the window of opportunity to sell to the builders, right, that you need.
And this no longer made sense.
And this no longer made sense.
Right.
So, but we had the right time, right place, everything, right contractor. The fact that we got the contractor who's digging to sign a 90-day contract that states that for every day over that 90 days, he owes us money, right? That then puts a little bit of fire underneath somebody's butt, right, which is great. So we love that. So if we sold it at 130, what's 50,000 times 20? Or, yeah, sorry, 50,500.
Profit, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, $1 million.
Million.
Million
So,
some change.
Million, million something, right? Let's get the exact number. Times 20. Million, thousand, but yeah. So
1
million,
million,
10,000.
10,000.
How do you do that?
There you go.
Yeah, all right. No, wrong.
There you go.
That's it.
Whatever.
One of them.
1,010,000.
One more zero.
There you go. All right. So we get $1 million in potential profit now, just because we're finishing the lots. You guys might then be asking, why don't you then build then? Because you can make it $3 million, right? Well, then we're taking a whole risk on ourselves that we don't really trust ourselves good enough to build a house right now.
And we got other deals going.
Yeah. But you get some flexibility. So if you guys have any questions on any of this type of stuff, you guys can ask at any time.
We only have one question. Leo, he's out in unincorporated King County in Auburn. Got a build situation, has some historical lots. He'd like to know, are we allowed to recommend the engineering company that we used? Or is that sacred?
Probably. They'd love that.
So we'll do that in the comments, right? We'll answer just stuff like that because I'm still new to BiggerPockets. I don't know if I'm allowed to actually like broadcast and promote other companies on VP Live, but we'll write it on the comments for you. So we'll get that to you.
Or can Leo maybe Facebook message you? Or?
Yeah, you can message me and stuff like that. I'll send you their information so that you guys can like use them and so forth, which is good. And then, so the flexibility on this million, though, it gives us enough buffer to where, it'd take a while for us to get back to 490 if we wanted to screw things up, right? So that gave us enough confidence to do that. It also gives us the flexibility. So I'm actually thinking now, all right, well, let's sell enough lots, right? And then I personally might say out of my profit share, I might keep 1 or 2 lots myself and then build because I'll still have cash in my pocket after the partnership and my risk is now gone and I own the lots for free now, right? So now my risk is very minimal, right? And I can maybe build a house to rent, right? Which I've never done before, and I thought that'd be kind of fun, right? To build a house. We haven't talked about that yet. But
Sure.
I wrote that down.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Freddie's like, no.
So
listen.
Here's something to talk about. But so that gives us some flexibility. Hey, maybe we want to sell 15 of the lots and keep 5 of them to go build. We're now out of pocket completely. We got all our money back. We still profited something, and now we got 5 free lots to go build if we wanted to. Our risk is like nothing at that point.
Yeah.
Right. So it gives you a lot of options if we wanted to go down that route.
Maybe we can talk about like people entertaining the idea of getting into land a little bit.
Okay.
Because, you know, I sourced this deal, right?
Yeah.
And so at the time, I was doing little lot splits here and there, like a house with a side yard, let's split the lot off over the counter, or let's do a small short plat, whatever. Well, which will segue into, I think, our next discussion, is if I would have taken this project on, this would have destroyed me.
Yeah.
Absolutely, right? Because I was doing smaller deals, whatever. And land guys, especially, they, most of the time, have enough capital to where if the market were to tank tomorrow, they can ride the wave out for 15 years.
Yeah.
All right? And so, which then gets us to, how do you pull off a deal like this?
Yeah. How do you pull off a deal like this? So that's a very good question. So, and that's a good point, right? These deals, it's very common for a lot of land deals and development deals to where there's other people involved. Joint ventures, partnerships, limited partnerships, general partnerships, syndications. There's
right.
so many things and ways to do it. This was a small enough deal that we didn't need to syndicate, right? We only need, if you remember, $490 plus 120 in soft costs initially, so $610. For us, we don't need to syndicate that. Right, throwing the extra $1 million in, then we go, oh shit, you know, whatever, right? You start to look at it, so you got to partner with some people. So in Freddie's case, if you were just to wholesale it, you might have made, you know, 100K or something like that, or maybe 100K, 75K wholesaling it. But it would have made it to where if he kept it, which he ended up doing his own, based on what he just said, you know, he would have gone out of pocket all this stuff. It would have been hard money lending. It would have been all of a sudden, you know, a lot of issues. If you had to go to this level now, all of a sudden like shit, then you're bringing a partner in who then wants maybe 50% of everything at that point, but you're already leveraged and like it's not a pretty situation. So know your finances, know your limits, and Freddie knew his limits, and luckily he did because he brought it to us. So we were able to do it. That said, joint venture partnerships. So you and I have an operating agreement together. We have another partner that's in the deal, our buddy, who's supplying a chunk of capital, and so we decided let's do a joint venture together, but let's do it in the form of an operating agreement. So we created an entity just for this sublot here, and through that entity we set up a pretty strong operating agreement that each of us have our roles in it. Who's supplying capital, who's not, who's doing the work, who's the operator, what if something goes bad, what if one person doesn't uphold their end of the bargain, how do you then structure that?
Right.
My entire belief system on joint venture contracts, operating agreements, everything is contracts make friends stay friends.
That's right.
Right? And contracts also make honest people stay honest. What does that last statement mean? It means don't go into business with people that you don't like and trust.
And don't do handshake deals.
Don't do handshake deals. In the sense that if you do business with somebody that you don't like and trust, a contract might not mean anything, right? And sure, then you have to go into court, enforce it, go crazy on it. And yes, maybe a year or two from now of litigation, you might actually win, but you had to go through all that. It's much easier just to be friends with somebody that you like and trust, that you would do business with because you actually trust them with your kids or your spouse or whatever, and then get it in contract so that you guys are even more honest together and there's no misconfusion. Because the second the money hits the table, money makes people do funny things, right? Yep. And that handshake agreement, that text message thing, that email got lost. And especially a year and a half later.
Right, yeah.
And things are determined later that all of a sudden aren't the case, and people are getting pissed off, and it doesn't really work out very well for you. So get it in writing. Joint ventures, you can do a joint venture contract. I'm not an attorney. Always do that yourself. And find a good attorney to do that. But a JV contract, you can get a standard JV. Somebody can take title. You can do a business arrangement for a JV. Good to go. You can do an operating agreement in a full entity, right? We have an LLC for this. And you can structure that operating agreement where it's really, really basic, and that will get you in trouble too, right? I believe it's very important that everybody knows the roles, the responsibilities in an agreement so that there's no issues later when shit goes sideways. Because guess what? Does everything ever go perfectly in these things?
Almost never.
Almost never, right? Yeah. So shit will go sideways. And when it goes sideways, you better at least know how you're going to handle it together. Right. I hope that helps everybody through that. It's very, very important.
Maybe you should write that on the board.
Maybe we should write that down.
There was a phrase that we used to use in the Marine Corps. It was called Semper Gumby.
Semper Gumby.
Always flexible.
Always flexible. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So we're gonna be live for just a few more minutes, and we hope this has helped people so far. I mean, raw land is kind of a hard thing to show people here, but it's this nice, lovely lot. To remind you guys, this is 3.6 acres, 20 lot subdivision. This is the math. we have a chance here to make at least $1 million.
Do you know if we have a request if BP could post a picture of the numbers?
Yeah.
Are we able to post that?
We will work on Zach. If you're watching this on BP, then people were asking for the numbers a little bit better to be posted. Also, we can maybe one of these days on one of our Facebook lives and YouTube lives, I'm going to come prepared, right, just for you guys. Right, we're going to bring an easel, right, out of nowhere. We're going to be walking these lots, and out of nowhere, it's like, oh look, an easel just sitting here, like with a little with markers and everything, instead of writing on the walls all the time. We're also going to bring. We would have done better for you guys if we brought the actual subplot map.
Yeah, like right? What does this look like?
What does this look like? So maybe we'll be able to get a chance to post that for you guys in the comments, a picture of the subplot map, so that you guys can see what it's actually going to look like when it's done. And we can also do an update on this thing in a couple months when the dirt's dug, everything's cleared. It's going to look dramatically different over the next 60 days. It'd be kind of cool to show you guys the pipe trenching and everything when they start doing that. But
might be in a week or two.
Yeah, it might be in a week, so we might do that. So
well, if you have more questions, we can mention.
I got one question.
One question.
You got one?
Nope.
How easy is it to get the government approval for the work? Well, so this is where it gets land is tricky, right? So there's a lot of ins and outs. You kind of have to know zoning codes a little bit, and it's all public information, right? So if the zoning that a property sits in says that this can be done, then by law they have to let you do that. Okay. Yes. Now, what are the hoops they're going to make you jump through to get to that point? That's where an engineer, can kind of help you, especially in an area that you're unfamiliar with. Yep. So it's just a process. It's a legal process.
You got to make sure the zone says
good. Yeah, if the zone says you can do it, then you can do it. It's just
it might take you.
Then what?
If you're in a smaller county or city or municipality, you might be able to just go straight to the desk of the guy that does all the approvals for the city right there, and become friends with them. And all of a sudden, they don't have a lot going on, and that thing moves pretty quickly. Right? You can then do it in downtown Seattle, where you have tons of people involved and a lot of development, and you have a laundry list of things going on, but like a huge waiting list, and that might take you a couple years, right? So
and knowing a few loopholes actually can go pretty far. Like if you're new at this and you kind of want to dabble with some land, there are certain jurisdictions that let you do over-the-counter lot splits if there's an underlying lot that meets all the setback requirements and all that stuff.
That's called like a historical lot line adjustment.
Right. And then there's boundary line adjustments, which are generally a lot easier. Anything with the word plat in it means you have to actually install this stuff to create the lot.
Yeah.
And so knowing that a plat itself, you have to spend the money to put the infrastructure in, you may want to steer away and specifically look for maybe boundary line adjustments if you're getting started, because if you're inexperienced, a plat can cost a lot of money.
And one thing with the city on this one, it was the water that we were waiting on, right? Like for a long time.
Pierce County Sewer.
Oh, we weren't going to name drop, but Pierce County Sewer.
I'm sorry.
So we were done with stuff for a long time, and it was just sitting for months waiting for just one little stamp, one little adjustment. And everybody's like, okay, any week now, right? Next week we'll get the approval, and that was 3 months later we got the approval, and all because one of the jurisdictions, one of the areas, the sewer utility company here, just didn't want to look at it. So that's basically what it boiled down to. Yeah. And you're at their mercy. You can't just you can't show up their office.
Honestly, the paperwork is the frustrating part of land developing. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because this part will go fast.
Yep, very fast, which is good. Which we're very excited about. So remind you guys, some of this stuff, 20 lot development, 3.6 acres. We are going to be finishing these out as finished lots now and selling them to builders. We might keep a couple ourselves. We have a potential of $1 million revenue, profit net. We have a potential of even going higher if we do sell them at premium lots to other builders. We have the potential of keeping some of them. We could you get some flexibility at that point, but we've taken all the risk. Right now, if you do the real math, we have almost $1 million, 800, 200, plus 600,000. So we have $1.6 million committed into this deal now, and we've made zero revenue in almost 2 years.
Correct.
Right? So are you getting rents? No. Are you going to be able to flip this quickly? No. So there's some risk there, but no risk, no goodies, right? Actually, I have that on my wrist, just so you guys can see. No risk, no goodies, right? And that risk, that 1.6 million of risk, is a potential of 1 million without really doing any work other than paper. For the most part on our side, which sounds good, right? And you guys might like it. Freddie made a good point with developers, though. One of the things we were able to do, most of this is cash, right? and because most of this is cash or other people's cash in some capacity, if the market took a dive, our worst case, we just have to sit, right? And if you have the liquidity to sit, then that's where it's okay, because you just wait for the market. Where you get really messed up on this is if this is a 12% interest hard money loan, right? Or an 8% or a 10%, or it's personally guaranteed, like during that time period. And you got a 12-month or 24-month short-term loan that the market takes a dive. You've personally guaranteed it. That's what messed up a lot of developers when the market crashed last time. And then all of a sudden, you can't sell your lots. You're leveraged to the hilt on them, and they could come seize your personal assets because you guaranteed that stuff. That's what happened to a lot of guys back when the market crashed. So keep that in mind, and try to avoid that.
And hey, if you're looking for land and you're negotiating with sellers, this is an important process to know, because how many of you guys have heard somebody say, well, I can get 30 lots on my property, it's worth X amount of $1 million. Okay, sure, it is at this point.
Yes.
It's not right now.
Yes.
Because do you have that $1 million to dump into it to create those lots? Nobody ever wants to talk about that part.
No. A seller always thinks their land is worth way more than what it really is.
And so there's a huge education process when dealing with sellers with land specifically.
But there's a huge upside. And I like what Freddie said earlier about looking for, like, we live in the Seattle area, you live in the Tacoma area. Those major metropolitan areas sometimes have, especially if they've been around for a while, they have things called like historical lots, right? They're underlying lots, right? There was at one point.
This one actually did.
This one had underlying. Okay, so
12.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that. So so it's a bunch of little lots at one time that were pre-approved by the city, and sometime in the last 100 years or longer, the owner put them into one lot, right? So there's an underlying, let's say you take a house that's next to a big empty field, but it's one lot. That could be that field was actually another lot, but the the owner decided to merge the two 100 years ago, right? If you could find out that there's a historical lot there, in Tacoma and Seattle, it's one piece of paper or a couple pieces of paper, submitting it, and 30-60 days later you got 2 lots, right? And it's the easiest thing in the world. And then you do a boundary line adjustment and you move the lot line where you need it to be, and you might just all of a sudden peel out a lot in 60 days that might be worth 80, 100, 200 grand.
That's a nice bonus to a flip.
Big bonus to a flip. And we've had some fun with that. You've had some fun with that,
absolutely.
And where you can all of a sudden build that deal into it. We've also had some problems with that, to where we have a house right now that we thought we could do that with, that we actually can't because we're short 5 feet. We could totally boundary lot adjust, so we could totally create that separate lot next to the house, but the easements and the setbacks to be able to, that the city of Tacoma is requiring now because it just changed, is making it to where we can't actually build on it. So, sure, we got the extra lot, but you can't do anything with it. So we're not going to get that bonus like we thought we would on that one. So know your shit. All right, that's
right. Yeah.
Any other last questions? All right. So remember, guys, we're doing these every Wednesday. We're going to do a different property every week. We're going to do a different walk every week, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Facebook Live and YouTube Live and BiggerPockets Live. Also, don't forget, BiggerPockets Conference is coming up in October in Nashville. I believe it's the 6th, 7th, and 8th. You guys can check it out on BP at any time. I'm going to be there. I'll be a speaker on stage there if you guys want to meet me. Brandon Turner's going to be there. My bro Jay Scott's going to be there. Love him to death. And all the other big BP contributors that have been there for years are going to be there teaching you guys different things. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's in Nashville. It's going to be a big party. It's just like you're friends with all your people on social media. Why not become friends with some of these people that you meet on BiggerPockets? Because they're going to be there. It's going to be great. Tickets will sell out. I think we're already almost sold out. I can't remember what it is. But make sure you're there, and tune in for next week. Follow us on my company, Fixated Real Estate. You can check us out on Instagram and Facebook. You can also follow me at Tarl Yarber. I'm the only one. And Freddie, if people want to get a hold of you,
they can contact you.
You don't want people to know.
I do lots of deals. I don't know.
Yeah. Freddie Brewster, look him up. He's out of the Tacoma area.
He's a ghost.
So he's a good dude. Of course, Nate Robbins. He's always holding the camera. I don't think any of you guys have ever seen what it looks like.
Yeah, there's Nate.
Look at that sexy man. Right.
We
Actually, I didn't hire Nate because of his brains. So so we love you guys. Make sure you guys follow BiggerPockets wherever you go. If there's no last questions, you can post them in the comments, and we'll go back to the comments and answer some questions later. And we'll see you guys next week, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, for the next live video. And who knows where we're going to be? We'll probably be at another property. See you guys there.
Awesome.